Hello and welcome to this lesson, Variables and Data Types in TradingView PineScript. This lesson consists of following sections. In the introduction section, I will overview variables and data types in TradingView PineScript, and I will explain importance of understanding variables and data types. In the next section, I will cover variables in PineScript, how to define them, and how to use variables in scripts. In the next section, I will name all existing data types in PineScript, and after that, in the next section, I will demonstrate how to declare variables in PineScript. And in the next section, I will talk about importance of using appropriate data type, and I will demonstrate some examples of appropriate data types. And in the last conclusion section, I will summarize what we studied in this lesson. So let's begin. In TradingView PineScript, variables and data types are used to store and manipulate data in your script. Understanding how to use variables and data types is essential for creating effective and efficient scripts. A variable is a named storage location in the memory of a computer that can hold a value. In PineScript, variables are used to store values such as prices, indicators, and other data that is used in the script. PineScript version 5 supports several data types. First data type that we're going to review is integer data type. Integer data type is specified by using int, which is a type name. And then to declare variable of integer data type, we specified int, then space, one or more spaces, and then we specify the name of the variable. In our case, my integer. After that, we specify operator equal and initialize that variable with the value of 5. Integer variable can store only whole numbers like 5 or 10 or 11, for example. Next data type is a float data type. Float data type can store only decimal numbers. Decimal number is a number that has decimal part separated by dot from the whole part. In our example, let's declare float variable. We specify the name of the float type, which is a float, then space, my float, which is our variable name, then operator equal, and then the value that we want to assign to the float variable, 3.14. As you see, decimal value has the whole part 3 and the decimal part 1.4, and they're separated by comma. This decimal part we can assign to the float variable type. This variable can have different values, different float values. For example, we could set another decimal value like 10.254, for example. Next data type is a boolean data type. Boolean data type can store only value true or false. So variable of a boolean data type can store only true or false. We specified data type bool in our example, space, the name of the boolean variable, my boolean, operator equal, and the value true. We can set it to true or false. Let's set it to false. Next data type is a string data type. String is a sequence of characters such as hello, goodbye, hi, etc. This sequence of characters must be between quotes if you want to assign it to the string variable, right? So if, for example, we do not specify a quote, then we can see that we get an error that way. So collection of characters that we put between quotes, and after that we can assign this string to the variable of string data type. Next data type is a color data type. Variable of color data style can store only color. To define variable of color data type, we specify color, space, and the name of the variable. And then we specify equal operator and the color. There are pre-existing colors in color namespace in PineScript, and we can select any available color if you want to specify the color by name. To look up what colors are available, we can go to reference manual pop-up, and then we can type color dot, and I can see that all available colors, like for example color.green, color.red, etc. We can select any of these available colors. Keep in mind that color namespace can have not only color in this namespace, it can have some functions as well, like color.rgb, right? So we defined our variable of type color using the named color, right? There is another way to define variable of a color by using color.rgb function. When we use color.rgb function, we specify levels of red, green, and blue, and level of transparency. So by combining all these values, we generate a new color. We do that if you want to create a color that does not exist in color namespace. So we can change any of these numbers if we need to, and we can specify transparency as the last parameter in this function, and that way we created our custom color. There is another way to do it by using the window, color selector window, right? When you hover the color.rgb function, you can see this color selector pops up, and then you can just select any custom color by dragging this circle or by dragging this selector and to select different color grades, right? So for example, you want some type of something approximately blue or something approximately red, right? You can set it over here to red, and then you can customize it more. Change color. Also, you can change the transparency, right? By doing that, all these values have changed, and we created our custom color using color selector. Next variable type is array. Array is a collection of values of the same type. Array has a size. In our example, we use array.new function to declare and define an array. we use array.new function. After that, we specify type of an array. In our example, it's int. Then we specify the size of an array, 10, comma, and initial value of each element in that array. When this line is executed, array int will be an array type variable, and it's going to have 10 items, and each item is going to have 0 value. Next data type is a series data type. Series is a series of data, such as closing price of stock or open price of stock or value of exponential moving average or some other indicator, right? In this example, we calculate exponential moving average value from close price with the period of 10, and we assign that value to EMA. In this case, EMA is the series data type. Why? Because ta.ema function returns series data type. Series data type is the data type that calculated for each bar in our chart. In this example, EMA is calculated for each bar in our chart, and that variable stores value of EMA for each bar. In our case, we have 9 bars over here. Whenever last bar is executed, whenever our script is executed for all the bars over here, EMA will have values of all these 9 bars. So per each bar, EMA will have calculated value. Also, to get those values, for example, you can use EMA, you can use a history reference operator, which is consists of these brackets, and then you specify the index. So EMA.0 is the EMA value of the series variable of the current bar value. If you specify 1, it's going to calculate EMA value from the previous bar. So this is how you get those values from this series variable. So next, let's review how we use var keyword. So you can use var keyword to specify data type that is detected from the value you assign to that variable. For example, now in our case, we have var space count, which is the name of our variable, and then we assign value of 0. 0 is a whole number. The count in this example will be, type of it will be detected from the value that we assign to that variable, which is going to be integer, because the value that we assign is integer. If we assigned value 0.5, the type will be considered as a float data type. And then in the rest of the script, this count is going to be used as a float data type. So in this example below, I designed a simple indicator that calculates a green bar in the chart. It calculates all green bars in the chart, and this demonstrates how count variable is used, because whenever there is a very important characteristics for these var variables. So they store value between bars. So for each bar, they preserve the value, right? It means that whenever you assign the value for such variable on the first bar, it's gonna still remember that value when the script is executed for each bar in our chart. And this script demonstrates that, right? So otherwise, if we use not var type like an int, every time whenever script is executed for each bar, that value is reset and it's going to be assigned, and it's going to be 0 assigned to that value again, so that it will not preserve the value. So let's see how it works. This small indicator calculates green bars. So in this line, we detect if current bar is green by checking if close is bigger than open. Then this boolean variable is true whenever bar is green. Then we check if this variable's value is true. Then we increment count by 1. How we increment it? We reassign value to the count variable, count plus 1. That way we increment count value and then we plot it. So what this script does is whenever bar is green, it's gonna increment count by 1. By the way, this operator :equal is called reassignment operator, and you need to use it whenever you need to reassign a new value to previously declared variable. Like in our case, you declare a variable first, you use equal operator. And if you need to reassign new value to such variable, you need to use reassign operator. Now let's verify how this small indicator works, if it produces proper results. As you see, this indicator plotted this line, and the value of this indicator on the last bar is 6, as you see over here. So it calculated all the green bars and the value is 6. We can see the total number of green bars in our chart is 6. It means that the bar works correctly, and it means that variable that we declared with the var keyword actually does preserve the value between bars, because we keep incrementing it and it keeps remembering the value that we calculated previously on previous bars. If, for example, we want to look up in some bar what value this indicator had, let's see, for example, for this green bar, we can see that whenever we navigate to certain bar, we can see in this section the blue number, the current value of this indicator, which is 3, meaning calculated value of the end of this current bar was 3. Why? Because including current bar, there are only 3 green bars up to this point, including the current one. Therefore, we verified that this indicator calculated for this bar number of green bars properly. So it's important to use appropriate data type for each variable, as this will ensure that your script runs correctly and efficiently. For example, if you are working with prices, you should use series data type. If you are working with colors, you should use color data type. And if you are working with values from moving averages or from other indicators, you should use float data type. In summary, in this lesson, we have covered the basics of variables and data types in TradingView PineScript. Understanding how to use variables and data types is an essential step in creating effective and efficient scripts. This is the end of the lesson, and I'll see you in the next one.